Greetings to you all. Here you see the General Electric Model 3-5979C handheld CB radio from 1995. I love this thing a lot, but as you guys know, if you watch the second CB radio test, I recently accidentally, well, for all intents and purposes, killed this thing. I accidentally applied reverse polarity to it while running it using the adapter jack, and I made it what people in the CB radio community call going deaf. I made it go deaf. Basically the audio output is no longer functioning, no sound at all comes out of the speaker. However, the radio still does turn on and transmit perfectly. Now, this makes me actually still quite upset because this is a brand new old stock radio that my mother gave me for Christmas. Even being a new old stock radio, if it was something that I bought with my own money, I would be like, yeah, okay, really stupid mistake, don't do it next time. But this was a gift from me from someone who's very close to me, and I'm still kicking myself, and I'll probably be kicking myself for a very long time. Now, I thought about different ways I could go about fixing this thing. I could try and figure out which component or components, God help me, went bad by this reverse polarity and replace them. It could be as simple as a diode which blew open, because of course diodes only allow electricity to go in one direction. If you apply electricity in the reverse direction, it stresses them to the point where they fail. Diodes usually fail by going open circuit. But I looked inside this thing and, well, I obviously saw it coming. These are not simple devices inside. There's a good 100-odd components on the circuit board. There's 1 or 2 integrated circuits, and I'm hoping still that I can eventually, get the circuit board completely out of it and test every diode and see if I find one that goes bad. But if not, it would probably be one of the integrated circuits, because one of those probably have something to do with the audio output. Or it could be something like a transistor that's gone bad. I don't know. But the other option would be to buy another radio that's perfect working and might have a dented up case or whatever, take the guts out of it and put them into this case. Of course, this thing has an absolutely flawless case. Brand new old stock radio. So that's what I've done right now. I went on eBay and bought another radio. Here it is right here. This is a GE 3-5979C, same model. This one was made in 1996. It's a few months newer than that one. I paid in total $21 for this, and I thought that was a pretty good price. It was advertised as being in excellent condition and perfect working. Now, if we look at this thing, it actually looks pretty good. Got some wear on the knobs. The knobs actually have quite a bit of play in them. If you look on my radio, well, obviously you can't feel for yourself, but the knobs, especially the squelch knob, they're very hard to turn because, of course, they've never been used, so they're still really tough. And that's a good sign of knobs that have very little use on them. Very hard to turn. These ones, the knobs are quite easy to turn. Now, I could make a good analogy that involves prostitutes, but I would like this channel not to be flagged for sexual references right now anyway. But yes, knobs, quite loose. You can tell they have wear on them, or maybe they haven't had much wear. I don't know, but they are quite loose, but oh well. Otherwise it looks pretty good. The case has gone ever so slightly yellow. It's just a tiny bit more yellow than mine. This button feels different, feels like it's had more use. This switch, it's different, it's quite louder than mine. Channel knob feels the same. But yeah, overall it looks pretty darn good. And you can see it has some minor scratches, but that feels good. Not bad at all. The antenna has a slight bend in it, but I can see that lettering's faded there, the Sentry logo there. But yeah, it's got some minor scratches on it, but otherwise it looks pretty good. And I was pretty happy, and I was ready to give the seller good feedback, especially because they packed this thing so well it could have survived a bomb explosion. This thing was packed amazingly well. So, I hadn't tested it yet. Of course, I wouldn't give feedback until I tested it and make sure it worked. But at that point of inspecting this thing, I felt pretty good. But then I looked at the battery compartment, and that's where everything pretty much fell to pieces. It's a two-handed job to get it open, but I opened the battery compartment, and then I see this. That is very, very bad corrosion, very bad. And you can see little, well, you might be able to see some greasy looking spots on here that suggest liquid corrosion has touched the plastic here. And I can't see inside. The other end looks okay, but boy does that look bad. Yeah, it pretty much all fell to pieces there. They obviously did not advertise this thing as having a very rotten battery compartment. I can tell you, I can quote the listing. It said, "Excellent condition, works perfect." And obviously, I think all of you can agree that, by anybody's standards, is not excellent condition. And it didn't even work perfect. As a matter of fact, when I put batteries in this, it didn't turn on at all. The battery compartment is so bad that this thing wouldn't even turn on. I haven't tried cleaning it yet. It might work with cleaning, I don't know. However, I did plug it into the adapter socket. This radio does turn on, and it does seem to work absolutely perfectly. But that battery compartment, I was not going to let that go. Now, I've bought so many things on eBay in my lifetime, I couldn't begin to count how many things I've bought off eBay, especially in just the past few years. But only a handful of those things have ever given me any trouble. Those things were actually the Casio TV400, the Texas Instruments TI-30, and a pack of transistors that I bought that never arrived. And with all of those things, I've done the same thing every time. I always contacted the seller. I was polite, I was professional. I said, "Hey, you know, I got the item you sent me. There's a problem with it. It wasn't explained in the description, and we have kind of a problem here." And in all three of those cases, the seller was more than happy to give me all of my money back, including shipping, and I could keep the item and everything. With the case of the Texas Instruments TI-30, I had contacted the seller because it had such horrible key bounce, but then I read that that's a problem with TI-30s anyway, and it actually got a bit better as I used it more, so I actually gave the seller half his money back a while later. But anyway, yes, this is the fourth time ever that I would ever have to contact the seller about something. Which was unfortunate, because besides the battery compartment, this thing, it looks okay, it worked perfect, and it was packed so well I was ready to give good feedback. But they did not explain that it had that horrible problem in the battery compartment, and so that was a problem. So I contacted the seller. I said, "Hey, got the radio you sent me? There's a ton of corrosion in the battery compartment, and for being a radio described as being in excellent condition and working perfect, it wasn't what I expected, and I'm disappointed, and I would like a full refund." And for the first time ever, that seller actually tried to challenge me. And she said, it was a she said, "I'm sorry, that must have been overlooked in pre-shipping check," or she used a lot of professional terms. But basically she said, you know, it must have slipped by, she was sorry. And she said, "You have two options. You can keep the radio and I'll give you the $10 item price back. This thing cost me $10 plus $11 shipping." She said I could keep the radio and get $10 back, or send the radio back and get the full $21 back. And I was not going to go for that. And here's why. First of all, I am not a guy who likes to start conflicts. I never enjoy conflicting with anybody. Whenever I've ever had a problem on eBay, I just said, I never asked for a full refund and to keep the item. I always just said, hey, there's a problem. And they were always like, oh, sorry, here's all your money back, keep the item. And I'm like, oh, thanks. So I never like to start conflicts, and she was correct. She was correct in giving me those options, because eBay does not require a seller to give a full refund and let the buyer keep the item. But eBay also requires an item to be described correctly. And for that reason, I do believe, and I believe that I am correct in believing, that I was entitled to a full refund without having to send back the radio. Also, you know, there was a $3 fee to bring this thing from the United States into Canada. Everything I buy on eBay I have shipped to the States, because it costs about 1/10 of the cost. Literally, in some cases. And to send it back to her would have cost me another few bucks. And in the end, whatever of her choices I chose, I would have been out about $10. And for being out $10 because she screwed up in describing this thing, I was not going to have it. So I replied to her. I said, listen, I paid more for shipping for the radio than I did for the radio itself, plus a $3 import fee, and now you want me to pay again to ship it back because you didn't describe it correctly. And I was nice. I was nice the whole way through. I said, for those reasons, I believe I am entitled to a full refund. And in the end, she gave me a full refund. She definitely was not entirely nice about it. The way she spoke to me when she said she'd give me a full refund sounded like she was saying, be great, you got your way, hope you're happy type of thing. But she was professional about it. She did ask for me to send her a picture of the battery compartment, which I gladly did. So yeah, anyway, I got all my money back for this. Like I said, I don't like to cause conflicts, or I don't like to do something that I think is unfair. I think it was totally fair that I get all my money back for this. She described it incorrectly, so it's a bluff on her part. But anyway, that's all over and done now. I'm trying to think of what to do. What I think I want to do is take the guts out of this radio and put them into this radio. It's just a matter of cutting 2 wires. No, 7 wires actually. 2 for the speaker, 2 for the microphone, 2 for the battery compartment, and 1 for the antenna. I have been inside my radio. It's pretty simple to get the entire circuit board out. You just have to cut those wires like I said, because the speaker and microphone are glued to the case. And the antenna pulls right out. I already have the screw for the antenna undone. Pulls right out. And also there's a switch, a plastic switch that goes between the motherboard and the press to talk key that you have to take out. I have it out right now so you can see the button, the rubber just squishes right in. But so yeah, I'm thinking take the guts out of this radio, which I got on eBay, put them into my case, and do up all the wires, and I'll have a perfect working radio again. At least a perfect working radio sans the switch toughness, but I won't be too picky about that. And I'll also try to fix the circuit board in my radio, see if I can get it working again. If I ever do, I will switch the circuit boards back, so then everything will be back to the way it used to be. And if I succeed in doing that, I'll have 2 good handheld radios, and I'll probably sell the Radio Shack TRC 502, because I don't need 3 CB radios. I don't even need 2 CB radios, but I like to think that someday I'll have a use for 2 of them. I have a set of walkie-talkies, but I'm currently gearing up to sell them on eBay. By the way, future video spoiler, I'll be doing a range test between them. So yeah, I'm thinking that's what I'll do. Another thing I could do is just clean up the battery compartment and use this radio as it is. If I clean up the battery compartment and it turns out it works, then I'll technically have a perfect working radio. However, like I said, there is some minor cosmetic wear on it. Why settle for that when I can move everything into a perfect, cosmetically perfect case? So basically, that's about it. Actually, what I'll do right now, just for the heck of it, I'll open up mine, and I'll show you what it looks like inside. So, this piece, the back piece, separates. You can see the circuit board in there. There's 3 wires there, 1 for the antenna, 2 for the battery compartment. And what I can do is I can pull off these rubber knobs, and I can, well, theoretically I can pull this knob off, but it's hard to get at, so it'll just pull itself off when I pull the circuit board off. But I can pull these knobs out and pull the circuit board out, and you can get a look at the circuit board. There you go. It's not the best view in the world, but here's what it looks like. As you can see, there is a ton of fun stuff going on here. Here's the LED display, made by, it says Phil on it, so I wonder if it was made by Philips. But anyway, you can see resistors going to every LED. There's the transmit LED, which is disappointing because it's got this great big long red plastic that says transmit, so you'd think the whole thing would light up. It's just a little LED. Oh well. And there on the front panel you can see the transmit lens and the channel display lens are all one great big plastic slab. There's the microphone, 2 wires going to the circuit board. There's the speaker, and oh my god, so many things right here. Those huge blue resistors right there, I would bet those run in series with the transmit circuit when you switch the power level to medium or low. When you switch it to medium, one resistor is in series with it. When you switch to low, both resistors are in series. And yeah, as you can see, there are so many components on here, quite a few of them diodes. And as it is, I can barely, you know, properly test this right now because I can hardly access the circuit board. You got wires on the back side and wires on the front side that are tethering the circuit board to everything. So in order to do a proper diagnostic test, I'll have to snip all the wires out of it. But yeah, there you go. So anyway, what I'm hoping I can do is clip this circuit board out, clip the circuit board out of this, put the circuit board in this case, and hopefully do something, try something regarding to fixing this circuit board. All I've pretty much been successful in doing at the moment is I tested one transistor that tested good, I tested a diode that tested good, and I took a voltmeter to the speaker to see if the speaker was even getting voltage, and it was not. So the audio circuit is indeed completely deaf. Anyway, there's everything about that, and there you go. Here's my radio plugged in. If you listen when you turn it on, you don't get a pop or a click or anything. As you can see, it's turned on. Another thing I noticed is the LED display in this radio is much dimmer than the one in mine, so I would say this thing has probably seen quite a few hours in its lifetime. It's probably provided some good service. So yeah, there's mine. Silent, bright display. If we plug in this one and turn it on, obviously you get sound. Press it and it's quite a bit dimmer, but it works. Gee, I'm having second thoughts. You know what I might do is I might not transfer the guts to this case first. What I might do is just simply cut this circuit board out and see what I can do to go about fixing it. And in the meantime, just use this radio in this case. I'll clean up the battery compartment. Presumably it'll work good on batteries again. And in the meantime, just use this radio in this case. And so if by some miracle I fix the one in this case, I can put it back in this case and I won't have to remove the guts from this one.